Hello everybody and welcome to another Stellaris video. Today I'm very excited to show you guys the Shroud-forged origin. This build is going to be more of a playthrough rather than a min-maxed like year 30 build, but it will scale very hard into the game as I have tried it a few times. And what I like about Shroud-forged and machines is it fixes the core problem with psionic pops, which is that the pop assembly is so low, you have no pops and you have to take over other empires in order to have any amount of population. And let me just tell you, almost any empire is decently strong when you double its size and double the number of pops. So, what makes machines kind of fix this is later on you can take a civic called hyperlubrication basins. Let me go ahead and find it for you guys so you guys can take a look. And essentially, what that civic does is it turns city districts into build speed for pops, and at the cost of amenities. And you also, as another condition, have to have at least one, what is it called, industrial zone there in the planet for that effect to take place. And it is extremely powerful. Now, the problem with hyperlubrication basins is, of course, the amenities usage is very unmanageable early on. So we're not going to start with it, and instead, we, as you could see there, we started with, let me go back actually, we started with Guardian Matrix, and this essentially makes it so that you don't get crazy penalties from having high pops, which I think is useful when you're playing an ultra late game run. In addition, we're just going to be playing on a standard Grand Admiral Galaxy settings, 8 AI empires, and normal multiplayer growth settings, which are quite close to standard with some changes. And then we'll also be playing with Iron Man mode, so no funny save scumming or that kind of thing. And yeah, so what are the strengths of this build? I think the early game tech is pretty good, and the fast ascension is extremely good. Those are the two biggest strengths in my opinion. And the last biggest strength, and this one is kind of luck dependent, is after you finish this psionic situation, you get a guaranteed 3 planets that are from the Zroni precursor chain, I believe, and it is very strong also. The main problem with that, however, is sometimes if you're unlucky, they won't spawn in your home sector, which really diminishes the usefulness of get those 3 systems. The reason why you want all your pops to be within your home sector is when you play with Psionic Ascension, in my opinion, the strongest way by far to take advantage of psionics is the Shroud Shaper Governor. And a Shroud Shaper Governor essentially gives you telepath jobs per pop. And that means you want all the pops to be within the one sector that that governor can actually affect. Which, of course, if you're unlucky and the Shroud Shaper or the event just spawns somewhere else, like if it spawned over here or something like that, we wouldn't be able to get it, which kind of sucks. But other than that, this origin is very consistent and it's very strong. However, I would say it's kind of early to mid game is not that competitive with some other builds, and it's really once the pops start rolling in with lubrication tanks that it gets very strong. For the early game, our main kind of goal will be to simply rush tech and keep the basic economy afloat. The basic economy of this build is not very good, and it can be helped with the very nice decision on your planets, which you get called Incorporate Artifact Relays. This is a nice boost to resource production, except in order to get access to it, you do need to find minor artifacts, right? So to get minor artifacts, I would recommend making 1 to 2 extra science ships, and then what you do is you send these science ships to survey, and just by chance, you'll probably encounter at least a couple archaeological sites, and that is usually enough to get a reliable source of minor artifacts throughout the game so you can continuously activate this decision. Although it's not hugely important, it is especially nice in the early game for unity and stability. On the other hand, right, what we're going to do first is essentially we're going to replace this with another research district, and we're going to rush society research, which is a bit weird considering we are robots, right? Normally robots don't want to rush society research, and the reason we want to go for society research is because we want to rush machine worlds. Machine worlds are kind of the ultimate scaling thing when you're playing with machines, and we're going to need those. It's kind of like, I would say, arcologies, except, or not arcologies, Ecumenopolises, but they're a little bit harder to find, so you need more dedicated tech to end up with machine worlds. And yeah, Other than that, the beginning of this build will start by rushing this Shroud situation. We're going to essentially click every option that speeds up the situation, even at the cost of instability in the capital and that kind of thing. We're just not going to mind that too much and kind of deal with the consequences, as ascending faster is nearly always better. In addition, we're going to spend our first bit of Unity hiring a few extra pops here. And we have an eager leader, so we might want to hire them. 88 Unity to hire the eager leader. And essentially what we're going to do, right, is we're just going to survey the galaxy as fast as we can. Also, as soon as we can afford it, I will also build the first colony ship and get those going as fast as we can. And also, in addition to that, right, let's go ahead and start making this society research zone. I think in addition, what else do I need to mention for the early game? For your leader traits, feedback loops are the best possible trait you can roll. The second best is probably the one that gives you edict fund, as you want more edict funds to run your basic research subsidies, your basic resource subsidies, which should be the techs that you prioritize the most if you have that option. And that's essentially what we're going to be doing this early game, right? Is we're just going to be pushing out as much tech whilst keeping our basic economy afloat. I will say that the basic economy can be somewhat difficult to keep afloat at times. So don't be disappointed in yourself if you have to deviate from the amount of kind of basic resources you would normally make. And on the bright side, we are very lucky here. We get 2 amazing planets with tons of resources available. I think this could be a nice energy world. This one can be a nice mineral world. You usually want a decent sized planet for your basic resources, so you don't need to double up. And the fact they're in the same system is also nice. And we can also go ahead and actually keep this science ship here and ready to excavate that site, which I think will be pretty good. Yeah, other than that, we're just going to rush the situation and we'll be back when something cool is happening. Also, for our first edition, it's going to be pretty standard. I'm going to include the build order I picked in a document, as I have been doing recently, and we're just going to be opening something very basic like prosperity. Alright, time for a quick planet management tip. Once you delete your industrial zone, you're going to struggle with industrial goods quite a bit. Just go ahead and build a single one of the civilian industries and alloy foundry on the home sector, and that should more than cover your resource need for at least the early game, which is very, very nice. In addition, right, we have our 3 science ships all going, which is also exactly what I talked about in the early game and kind of what we're looking for. And once again, yeah, try to get these excavations going to find those minor artifacts. I'm probably repeating myself here. Another tip with robots is a very cool thing you can do is you can create a template with the other planet habitabilities kind of immediately right out of the gate. And what this will allow you to do is every time you find a planet that is not of your default planet type, it'll actually assemble the correct robot species for that planet type, meaning you don't need to min-max and try to find the perfect planet habitabilities, and instead you can just benefit from every single type of planet you have in your local area, well, with Tomb Worlds being a little bit less. But every other planet should be very ideal for robots, so it's just about finding the number of planets and not really what kind, which is very cool. All right, due to our tech luck, which has been pretty good so far, if I do say so for myself, we managed to get capacity subsidies nearly right away. Also, you can go isolationist if you like. This is a very, very nice thing, as even though it's going to cost us a tiny bit of unity, since I did not manage to roll a single leader with the trait for that. I forget what it's called. It's charismatic for biological, but I don't remember what it's called for robots or gestalts. So I guess we'll remember that at some point in the future where it doesn't matter anymore. Yeah, another thing, if you actually can't get any edict fund, it would be worth it as a first civic to open into, or not for a first civic, but a first tradition pick, is to take executive vigor. It is seen as a really bad pick, but I believe it's actually pretty good. First of all, it's very nice for the early game, and early game is really important. And council agenda speed is very nice. You know, it's not insignificant at all, and there's not a lot of sources of council agenda speed, especially for robotic empires. So That is pretty nice. Yeah, don't take it for granted. Also, the first planet you build, you will basically want to make it into a generator world right away. Probably build a machine assembly plant on it first, a generator district, then a drone storage. That is generally a pretty good order to do things at. And also, as soon as your dig site starts giving uh, those minor artifacts, you can go ahead and tick on the incorporate artifact relays, giving you a nice boost to stability and a small boost to basic resource output. If you're not very lucky and you haven't managed to roll into energy subsidies, you might need to upgrade the energy district on your capital before your second energy planet gets rolling, as it can be a little bit slow to build energy only on colonies, so do keep that in mind. Other than that, we're going to go ahead and also colonize our third or fourth planet here. And this is a very healthy amount of planets, as we're going to get another +3 to this later on, so that's very, very nice. Another planetary management tip I find is very useful for gestalts, especially robots. Just disable all the logistics drones and hunter-seeker drones on your colonies. Otherwise, the game loves to employ them, and they are a pretty terrible job type, especially early game before you have any boosts that apply to them or anything like that. So I would definitely do that. Yeah, also don't forget about your energy generation zone, so you can actually build the plant there as well, which will give us more bonuses to our energy production. And the second planet here will also be a mineral world. Hopefully that's clear. And then any worlds after that are kind of used for anything else we may need, like alloys or even more research. We'll decide what we want to do sooner or later. All right, our psionic situation has just finished. As you can see, we also accidentally ended up in an energy shortage. Would not recommend this. It hurts your research a lot. I think we dropped from like 350. And we have colonial centralization here as a research option, so we're just going to finish it off. And then you get access to the psionic theory tech, which we're going to take immediately after, and then get ready to psionically ascend. Also, start holding your unity now if you're like me and you are over edict cap, which is definitely frustrating not having a single leader that buffs that. Then you're going to have to start holding Unity as well, so you can actually take Psionics when you get access to it. In fact, I think I have to turn the Edict off for a bit so we can actually start gaining Unity at an appreciable rate, which is a bit unfortunate, as this is going to make our energy credits really expensive. As you can see, we immediately go down to -35, and it's a rough situation out there. But yeah, anyhow, we just have to wait to finish off this research, and then we can start our Psionic Ascension pretty fast into the game. Alright, our psionic theory tech has just finished, which means we can start our psionic tradition tree, and since we've also been holding Unity for a bit, I hope we can get the Psi Core right away. No, we need to wait 3 months. So yeah, we definitely messed up our Unity there a little bit, but it's only 3 months, not a huge deal, and we need to build up minerals for that anyway. As you can see, our energy still is a problem, so we can just temporarily keep buying a little bit until this energy planet starts to kick into gear. I really don't like the way basic resources work in Stellaris 4.0 Plus because of the non-linearity of the support zones and the actual districts. I feel like the support zone should cap at 2, as the fact that you can stack support zones making the production like non-linear and quadratic instead is really, really toxic for both small planets and also just in the fact that if you get started a little bit earlier, you outrun empires who didn't get that quadratic scaling going early enough. You outrun them really quickly, which I think is a bit of a problem, especially since the districts don't cost pops to use also. Very, very powerful. Anyhow, if you're curious how I like to do the support districts and regular districts, I just go 1-to-1. And that tends to give you the best possible output. However, if you're short on pops, like we will likely be for the majority of this game, thanks to not having the best pop assembly, is we're going to go heavy on the support districts near the beginning of the game, as we're going to have a little bit more minerals than we have pops, so that tends to work out. Also, yeah, this energy situation is a bit rough. Let's just get some trades so we don't go negative there. And yeah, we can just keep building up this energy planet as fast as we can to try to keep our energy afloat. Also, now that we have our Unity done, we can go ahead and re-enable capacity subsidies so that it's not as dire. And welcome back. Another integral part of playing psionics is making sure you pick the right options in the transformation situation. And the main goal is to go up into the shroud. So this is your position in the shroud, this little dot here, and you want to move it upwards towards the instrument of desire because it's probably the easiest of the four to please in the early game. However, there is no way to know currently exactly which way it's going to take you, so I'll give you a brief description of kind of how I believe each one of them works. The instrument is like a development and like science kind of focused covenant. The cradle, which is over here on the right, is kind of like diplomacy and benevolent feeling. The eater on the other side is very evil and kind of ominous. And then the bottom is like environmental and people focused. So it's very broad, and sometimes I pick them wrong as well. And sometimes you have to read the entire description to get a really good idea of which way it's going to go. Embrace the change. Ooh, do I like, for example, this one, I don't know. Do we want to regulate or do I want to know? I don't know. I don't want to read this thing. So we're just going to pick and hope we go in the right direction. And we did. So yeah, hopefully in the future, all the like more detailed information will be published on the wiki, so there'll be more knowledge on exactly which situations move which directions in the shroud, which will kind of make it less vague and easier to get the exact thing you were going for, which I think will be very helpful. But for now, we're kind of left more randomly guessing with some broad guidance from the descriptions I gave earlier. And yeah, hopefully in the future it'll be a little bit easier. Seismic disturbances. This one's an important event. If you ever get this, just research the communications right away. Otherwise, you could be in trouble. Alright, guys. We just got this Roni legacy. I forgot to click record. I'm really sorry about this. But they spawned right here, which is super, super lucky because that means we get all three of these Roni legacy planets inside our home sector, which is going to be absolutely amazing for us as the game goes on, as this will give us a 7-planet core systems, a bunch of core systems that we can use to really, really scale hard into the late game. In the meantime, we're just trying to manage our consumer goods. We are a bit lacking in them, but we should have more than enough pretty soon. It's really annoying that you can't prioritize telepaths and a certain other, job within the whoa. Let's do an emergency 50 consumer goods spot and another job. But that's fine. We'll end up doing what we can and just continuing to build up here. One thing we really need to build up is the mineral situation as well. Right now we can't afford mineral subsidies, but once this psionic situation gets to halfway, which will be very, very imminently, what we can then do is we can finish off the psionic tradition tree, and then that will give us access to those 100 edict funds that we are desperately lacking to turn on the basic resource subsidies. We only have capacity subsidies on right now, and as you can see, we also need that. So we're now halfway in the psionic situation, and that unlocks the rest of these. And yeah, 13 months later, we'll be able to take a first ascension perk. Another thing we need to do is, once you get a little bit later into this situation here, you're going to get access to the Shroud teachers, and you're going to want to buy one of these guys as soon as you can. We're a bit lacking in energy right now. We're a bit lacking in resources in general. We're going to sell off some resources to try to buy this guy quickly. Oh god, this is so painful. Well, we'll buy this as soon as we can. Alright, we are starting to make first contact with the Shroud, and our first Shroud communication ends up going here, so unfortunately we have to delve, and we once again miss. Okay, that is really frustrating. What you do in this situation when you get unlucky like this is you go to this guy, the little Shroud enclave here, and then you wish to commune with other Shroud entities, and you need to give them some Zero. We need 100 Zero. Luckily, we have almost enough, so we can probably sell some consumer goods or something and just buy the missing Zero. Apparently, we need to sell some alloys. And there we go. Oh, did we really? There's no way. I didn't even know this was possible, because every single time I've done this so far, whichever aspect you're closest to, you tend to get first anyway. So I guess we'll just have to commune with... We have to make contact with somebody else first, I guess. That is so crazy. I don't even know which one is which, to be honest. I'll just randomly research one. Anyhow, I guess we'll have to wait until the next stealth before we can do anything about that, which is a big waste of 5 years, to be honest. That kind of sucks. Alright, we've made contact with the Cradle of Souls. Not the one we were going for, but, I guess we could try to gain attunement with them. I don't think it's possible because we haven't made contact with another AI empire yet, making it really hard to gain any attunement towards the Cradle. We're kind of stuck going towards the Instrument of Desire here, which is what I was aiming for with all the event selections, which means we're going to have to wait till we can delve, and I don't think there's a way we can speed this cooldown up as a Gestalt Empire. We just have to wait the 1300 days, which is like 4 more years almost, so that is quite rough, as 4 more years to get more telepaths kind of sucks. It would be 4 years of much better pop efficiency if I could build that building now. But unfortunately, we're gonna have to wait. It also means we're gonna have to wait even longer before we can get the Shroud Shaper, which is very unlucky, I would say. Oh well, I guess this can happen. To be honest, I didn't know it could happen. I thought that you would always just make contact with the one you were closest to already, and we were very close in this direction, so unlucky. Alright guys, 10 days until the next delve. Hopefully this delve brings us into the contact with the Instrument of Desire. There we go. Pretty, I really didn't know you could even low roll like that, but that is fine, because we're going to end up at the same point anyway after some amount of time, as we're doing very well on a lot of other things. We're doing quite well on tech, quite well on that kind of progression in general. 750 tech at year 23 is definitely nothing to scoff at. And this is going to continue to go up, as we're essentially at this point just bottlenecked by the building speed of this planet. And other than that, we're maximizing that as much as we can. And very soon we're going to get access to a second world that we can use as a secondary tech planet, so we can build that up as fast as possible too, as we don't really need to militarize, we don't really need to rush out alloys or consumer goods, so we'll build as much as is needed, and probably not a lot more than that. And this is sustaining us just fine for now, so yeah, I guess. We're going to go ahead and colonize these worlds too, probably just for pop growth. I can't really see what we're going to use these 2 planets for yet. We'll definitely find a use for them at some point, because the more planets you have, the better, as is generally true right now. Are these the Mind Wardens? Yeah, I think those are the Mind Wardens. I don't know what they're going to do to us later on. I hear they don't like psionics, and they're right next to us, so unlucky for them, I guess. Or maybe unlucky for me. I don't know yet. Alright, here we are. The Instrument of Desire emerges. It is remarkable. We want to please it, of course. And pleasing it will give us more attunement with it. How close are we to having enough? Are we already have 500 attunement? Upgrade a building, These are pretty easy tasks. We can do something like this. Boom, upgrade that. Yeah, we should be rolling along now. Also, we got a new planet. Go ahead and build the machine template on that, and I believe this is one of the Zroni homeworlds or something, so we can get like some cool buildings on it or something or other like that. Maybe not this one, but I know one of these. I don't remember which one. You get some really cool features where you can build some unusual buildings, and I do not know where they go as you play later on. To be honest, I don't know where I don't know how this plays in the late game, because I honestly haven't done it yet. So we're going to find out. All I know is that this build guaranteed has good synergy when you pick your own covenant, or you forge your own path within the covenant. So this should be pretty fun. Alright everyone, we also got a 3rd Civic, so we get to pick something for that now, and I'm honestly not sure what we should pick, so we'll probably just take something generically good, like Constructobot. Built to Last is also a solid option here, and essentially we're just gonna wait to take the Lubrication Basin once we have Ecumenopolis's, I keep calling them Ecumenopolis's, machine worlds up and running, as we could take it now, but it would just tank our amenities with not a lot of ways to solve that issue, so yeah, we're going to go with something like probably Constructobots for now. Yep, that sounds like a great idea. And I also forgot, is one of my favorite parts about Gestalt, is when you take a Civic, it doesn't reform your government, so you don't have to worry about dealing with a bunch of micro every single time you reform your government, which is nice. And as you can see, we're up to a really nice amount of tech now. And we should, if I'm not mistaken, also have access to, the Sanctum of the Instrument now, which is very nice. Essentially, every time you get to 600 attunement in any of the quadrants, you permanently get access to that building. And then all we need to do now is get up to probably about 800 and then delve again. And that should allow us to do something very, very cool, which is get the Shroud Shaper Governor. So, yeah, onwards and upwards. All right, everyone. We now managed to have 877 attunement with the Instrument of Desire here. So let's go ahead and delve. And what we want to do in this situation, when you get the offer to form a covenant, instead, click Forge Your Own Path. And that will immediately give you access to this situation here, Shaping the Shroud. You essentially want to research that right away. And this is the point where you also want to confirm that you do indeed have the Shroud Governor and at least one other potential target that is a Governor class leader for the Shroud Shaper, as you're going to want them to be the head of your empire and giving you that psionic bonus of per pop. What am I trying to say? Of a telepath per pop, right? You really, really want that bonus to affect as many of your pops as possible. Right, so Governor class leaders are the best option. In the meantime, I also want to point out how I've arranged my basic resource planets. If you want to take a look at this, I have a crazy amount of support zones, meaning each one of these pops is insanely efficient. Like, what is this? 1,500 pops making 900 energy. This planet is basically a mini Dyson sphere. It is awesome. Yeah, very, very, very nice. I would really recommend spamming out the support districts, and then when your planet runs out of space, then you can finally start building some of those actual zones back, and when your pops kind of catch up to the amount that the planet can actually contain. Because for now, we're still lacking pops on most planets, as you can see. And we also finished a path forward situation now. So what we're going to find is once this breakthrough is complete, we will gain access to pick a leader to be a chosen, which is a very, very powerful bonus indeed. And let's also make sure we have enough trade here, as we're out of trade, which is a common problem when playing as machines, which is why at some point you kind of really need to have a trade dedicated planet. And yeah, here we go. So let's pause and take a look at who we got. Renowned official. I'm almost sure that's the Shroud teacher, right? Yeah, that's a very Shroud teachery name. So let's take a look at our leaders and confirm. And yeah, if we get it on the Shroud teacher, this is the absolute best case scenario. Otherwise, take a scientist who is not yet level 4, so you can pick them as an analyst, or if they're already an analyst, that works as well. Or even a level 1 governor is fine because you can level them up. But since we got the Shroud teacher, that is the best possible result. And take a look at this. Shroud Shaper, you get 1 telepath per 25 pops. Absolutely beautiful. And this is going to jump the efficiency of our empire quite a bit, as there's going to be a lot more telepaths. See, on this planet, there's 256 extra telepaths, and all the other planets, there's even a few extra telepaths there as well, which will eventually stack up to crazy bonuses as the population of our empire increases. Also, do take a look that even though we don't have lubrication tanks yet, our assembly speed is actually pretty good. We're getting 16 assembly on our homeworld here, as when you upgrade to primary nexus, that gives quite a bit of assembly jobs, I believe. So yeah, you can actually get a decent number of pops without being lubrication tanks, which is really useful for scaling up, right? As just at year 31, we're already pushing like 1k tech, and even though we're not making any advanced resources, our basic economy is basically fully geared towards scaling at this point. The other thing we might want to do at this point as well is I think we have access to the Zroni Equilibrator. This thing is just a cool-ass building. I don't even know if it's good or not. I'm just going to put one on every planet anyway, because I think it looks awesome, and it's a unique building, and I want that. So, yeah. Hey guys, I have a quick tip. If you're really trying to find machine worlds and you're struggling like I am, and machine worlds requires climate restoration technology, A quick little tip that you can do with bioempires is take adaptability, and I'm now realizing that adaptability doesn't exist for robots. So apparently we can't use adaptability to cheese that. I was just about to mention that. Well, sorry about that. That was a bit silly. Maybe it has an equivalent, but I don't see it right away. Is it synchronous? The looks like versatility, but versatility doesn't seem to have anything that indicates it would help us find terraforming technology. So unfortunate. It's not like Bio where you can just cheese out the terraforming technologies whenever you want them. You just have to brute force it, I guess. So more society tech it is, I guess. I guess that is the way. We do have the second tech planet here, and I believe I already enacted the decision pierce the shroud here, and that gives you the ability to build these very overpowered shroud observation towers that give huge amounts of society and physics research, and we can build the lab building as well to help boost the efficiency of those jobs. Very nice. All right, everyone, we're about to finish off the climate restoration technology here, and that is good because I finished 3 traditions and have left one deliberately open. By the way, I took Tech Ascendancy second, in case you were wondering. And now we can go ahead and finally take machine worlds, and I believe we should be able to immediately start them if they cost the same thing as an Ecumenopolis. How do I turn this into a machine world? Decisions. Can I not turn my homeworld into a machine world? Huh. Alright, I'm gonna have to look that up because I thought taking machine worlds was what I need. Uninhabitable for organic species, unlocks district, replace rural districts with nexus districts. Unlocks, it's a terraforming option. I did not realize that. Okay, decisions, terraform. Machine world. It costs energy. Okay, so we have way too many minerals as well, which is good to know. And I believe one nice thing is you can turn every kind of planet into a machine world, right? Energy world, mineral world, just everything machine world. Yeah, you don't have to cover it with city districts, which is extremely nice. Let's go ahead and start turning some of our core planets over to machine worlds. I think that will definitely be very useful. And at this point, I think we can also start moving pops off our mineral planet and onto other planets where they're more needed. So mineral pops, yeah, we don't need so many. We're going to go to like +0. Let's see, what is our media? +22, perfect. That's exactly what we're going for. And we have over 1,400 maintenance drones here now. But they'll fill up eventually onto filter out into planets which they do need the jobs, I think. Yeah, we're going to start to what's the word I'm looking for? Militarize. My brain is really fried today. I'm sorry, people. And I realized I've probably been. That's crazy. I've been on balanced production the whole game. That is funny. Well, now that we're on manufacturing focus, we should get even more crazier bonuses to our tech and such, right? Like we're probably pushing 2K tech now, which is really quite good for year 36. And now we're also free, I just realized, to kind of completely bias our tech towards physics and engineering, and obviously that will be really, really good because physics and engineering are what we need for the best ships possible. So yeah, let's go ahead and probably turn this homeworld bit into a physics part, and then on this planet we'll focus on engineering because it has the 20% engineering bonus. So yeah, we're just going to continue to develop here. Everything is obviously looking quite good at this point as well. So I think the nearby AIs, they're not too friendly with us, but we can militarize in pretty quickly in a pinch at this point if we need to. Alright everyone, for our next Ascension perk, I think it's time to go Cosmogenesis at this point. We have our machine worlds, we can now go ahead and really start to scale the tech up. And it is already going pretty fast, right? And mainly we're just looking for the Fallen Empire assembly buildings, as those give you enormous scaling for pops to the point where you almost don't even need to go loop tanks, but you can also combine it with loop tanks to get some truly ridiculous pop scaling, which we'll definitely be doing at some point in this game. I'm not sure which planet we'll decide to do it on, probably just our homeworld, to be honest, as this will be one of our first machine worlds that is done, and it's also maxed out on city districts for some pretty ridiculous pop assembly speed. Also, as you can see, we're forced to build a fleet because we're getting void warmed right now. And we have decent alloys, right? So it's not a huge problem to build at least a modest fleet. Although we did lack any amount of shipyards to make that happen, as we haven't even researched Starhold tech yet, because we are definitely not maxing out um, anything military related. Um, Anyhow, like, we're still scaling strong, and at this point we're just kind of waiting for these machine worlds to finish, and then we can probably reform into lubrications tanks and see how we can get our pop assembly going. All right, everyone. So very, very soon, our first machine worlds are going to finish, and I think it's time to drop Constructobot. Did I say Constructobot? Constructobot, and take Hyperlubrication Basin. And yeah, this is going to give us the crazy pop assembly that we're looking for to really start to accelerate the game, as we are lacking pops essentially on most of our planets. Some of our planets have a good amount of maintenance drones built up, um, but on most of our planets, we're still lacking uh, the ability to fill up the jobs. Unless I manually go through and do that, right? So, like, for example, these planets are kind of just idling, waiting for me to build districts, because there's no point in me to build districts right now because we're not producing anything with them. So, yeah, these are the kind of planets where we would benefit a lot from just converting them into, say, like half-assed kind of industrial planets where we can just plop down a hyperlubrication basin and then start to reap the benefits of that, right? So we can go ahead and plop down a hyperlubrication basin on most of these planets very soon and really start to get that rolling. And yeah, also I just realized I have the ancient refinery, so I can go ahead and plop that down and get rid of these other buildings here and just max out all these planets as well. And this is looking pretty good, right? So we're also, with Cosmogenesis, we're starting to get some rarer techs, but we don't really have enough tech to kind of push the boundaries on that yet. We're kind of still lacking in terms of that. So we're going to have to wait quite a bit of time before these pops really start to come online and start to accelerate. And with the machine world done in 81 days, let's go ahead and pop over to fastest for a second, and then get the machine world started so I can figure out how to lay it out. Let's see, should be in a few days now. Let's just update our techs, ship intellect, sure, and maybe just mining station out. We're just kind of roll through these techs until we start to find the Fallen Empire ones, and beautiful. Essentially what we want to do now is build the unspecialized Nexus districts, and then what we want to do with them is you can place down. I swear there was a building here. Oh, is it now that this is a machine world? Did it delete all the? It did. Yeah, you can't have the Shroud observation post on a machine world. It looks like, unless I can pierce the Shroud again. Ah, so you can't have these Shroud observers on a machine world, which is fine because we don't really need those Shroud observatories. Hey, they're very cool jobs and that kind of thing. Very strong for the early and mid game, but do they really compare to Ecumenopoli? I'm just going to call them Ecumenopolises because that's essentially what they are to me. Also, I could go through the contacts and try to establish a covenant with every single one of them. What I'm just going to say is, while it will give a better pop efficiency bonus than what I have, it is such a hassle to do so that I'm not going to bother. I'm just going to rely on these hyperlubrication tanks to do some funny things, right? So, did I reform already? Hyperlubrication basin, right? Okay, I think you have to build them on a... Oh, wait, what? Why are they not in pop assembly? Where were they? Where were they listed as? Because the pop assembly tab doesn't have. Why are they in amenities? They're negative for amenities. Well, I don't really understand that. Anyhow, let's go ahead and place one down on all our planets that are more developed and also have an industrial zone. And what we're going to do for our capital here is we're just going to build a small, like, kind of one district industrial zone. Not really meant to be an industrial planet, but just to give it the bonus for hyperlubrication basin, because hyperlubrication basin does not do anything if you actually don't have any city districts, or if you don't have a industrial district in the planet somewhere, and all you need is one to activate the bonus. So it is definitely quite strong there. Why do we have so many physics subroutine? Oh, this is a physics area. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, it looks like we're definitely lacking pops now, and we're lacking maintenance drones too, but very soon we're going to start to get some crazy assembly. Right now, 12 assembly on these planets here. Um, why do I not have a single district available on this planet? Huh. That's funny. Okay, let's replace a couple of these with one of each unspecialized nexus, as the unspecialized nexuses will allow us to. Whoa, there are so many unfilled jobs now. That is crazy. Um, yeah, how are we going to fill these? I have no idea. We'll find a way, right? We will find a way with these lubrication tanks. Yeah, let me skip back to when they're kind of rolling, and we'll see what's going on then. Check this out. So as soon as the lubrication basin finished, our amenities dropped so much. We're at 23% happiness, and this is when those artifacts come into play again. Boom, click that button. Immediately back to 100% stability. This is also why I have an archive zone, is because now we have enough coordinators to manually bring the stability up to 100%, whilst also having the lubrication basin. And I think I'm going to do this on every planet that I plan to make a kind of lubrication basin main planet. Is we're gonna build at least some simulation sites, right? And these simulation sites will give us. Wait, is this the right thing? No, we need the uplink node, which gives the coordinator jobs. The simulation site doesn't. And then when we build the lubrication basin, we shouldn't deal with such terrible amenity issues or stability issues. I mean, like the amenity issues are only a problem if it converts to stability issues, right? So that's kind of the plan here. Why did this thing destroy my energy production field? I don't know. Whatever, it's not a big deal. And yeah, I guess it's just time to start spamming out these hyperlubrication basins everywhere. And yeah, let's see how that affects our pop. That's not the right. Where? Oh, I already have one. Silly me. I'm kind of curious. Like, what assembly am I getting here? 9. That's not the best. I guess there's a lot of districts to be filled still. But let's take a look at our more developed planets. Let's take a look at this one. 28 assembly, right? So this is finally kind of a real assembly speed. This is what we're talking about. Very, very nice. Let's see. What about our tech world? Is the lubrication tank done yet here? No, it's not. So yeah, we're gonna have to slowly go through our planets and make sure they're all running optimally. It's gonna be quite a bit of management, but we're gonna do that, and we should start accelerating pretty quickly now. All right, guys, how I've decided to do this, and I think this is gonna work pretty well, to be honest, is on essentially every single planet. I'm going to try to run a coordination nexus and a foundry nexus. The foundry nexus is, of course, to activate the hyperlubrication basin, and then the coordination nexus is to improve the happiness back up to a point where it's manageable. I do think that the foundry nexus scales with the number of city districts attached to it, so this is not as effective, for example, as having the foundry nexus as this main specialization zone, and I'm thinking of swapping it over on most of my planets because they have enough capacity, to be honest, the way they are right now, and we really need more pops, right? So I think that is probably worth it. But it's hard to say, right? It's hard to say. So yeah, because like if you look at my home world, I don't actually really get how Hyperloop works. If anyone knows, please tell me, to be honest, because look here, I have 28 assembly, and I only have 1 Foundry Nexus. And then on this planet over here, I have, how much do I have? I also have 1 Foundry Nexus, and my pop assembly is only 11. I think, oh, you know what it might be? Is on my capital, I must have more Hyperloop jobs. No, I have 500 here. How many are my capital? 600? Like, that shouldn't be a difference that's that big. I don't know. I guess we'll see. We're also getting the upgraded machine assembly plants now, which is really, really nice. That should help us a bunch. And yeah, we're just going to work on building up all these planets, right? Because why not? Get the biggest bonuses we can, and we're just going to, yeah, work on assembling pops as fast as we can everywhere. It looks like it is slowing down our attack a little bit thanks to the lowered amount of jobs that are being worked in tech, but we should make it up once the pops catch back up, and we're also making a crazy amount of unity, which will finally allow us to finish our tradition tree as well, which should be pretty useful. Oh, guys, I figured it out. So this planet, which my engineering research is on, I realized why the assembly is so slow. It's not because I only have 1 Foundry Nexus. It is actually because the planet is just tiny. There's a minus 30% district modifier on it, which means it's actually like a size I don't know, what would that be, like 12 or something, 12 or 13 planet, which makes a lot of sense why it's only getting a level 11 assembly, as my planets just get the assembly scales with the size, right? The homeworld is size 18, but it's fully developed, so we get 33. And on some of my larger planets here, well, not this one because this one doesn't even have any assembly jobs yet. But on some of the more developed, larger planets, the assembly is also quite good, like 17 on this planet here. I don't even know how large, just 21, right? And this all makes sense kind of in my head. They just need higher tier capital buildings before they kind of catch up to my capital in terms of actual assembly. But we're getting decent assembly everywhere. Not quite enough to keep up with the speed of job creation, which is the ultimate end goal. But it's still decently fast at this point, right? Like 13 to 14 assembly everywhere, as psionics is definitely much better than you'd normally get. And even 33 is enough to start, sustaining the rest of my empire with a good source of pops. And yeah, we have a lot of logistics drones too now, which finally has solved our eternal trade deficit, which has been annoying to deal with until now. And yeah, at this point, we're just kind of waiting. I think I should try to put a higher emphasis into engineering tech and probably drop this physics zone for engineering. And the main goal of this is we're trying to roll the higher tier engineering assembly plants, and that will give us a much faster scaling than waiting for like 11 assembly or something like that, right? If we have some real spots to build some good assembly plants on, this will be way, way better. So yeah, I'm going to wait for that. I also forgot it's time for my least favorite part of the game. Yeah, it's orbital ring time. Orbital rings are, of course, extremely important going vertical, and also they're just really, really powerful for any planet that produces any resource. Basically, you can either make your planet larger, which is good, or you can make your planet more efficient, which is even better. However, I just hate placing them as it takes forever, and it's also pretty micro heavy as you have to manually go in and place a ring. I think it should be a button from the planet. I think that would kind of solve this issue of having to go in and manually ring every planet. Like if the ring button was like here, you just click it and it builds a ring, that would be ideal. So hopefully they do that. Other than that, though, it's not a huge deal. It's just something funny, and I like complaining. So there we go. I don't even know what to take as a last civic. I don't. Is statecraft even good on Gestalt? I don't know. We'll just take it. Mostly just I can't think of anything else to take at the time. And yeah, we're just gonna keep going. You know what I think really needs a change in Stellaris? Every time now and then, I go through my empire, and since this is like multiplayer or I'm tryharding to min-max, I'm not really being very accurate with this, but don't you hate that when you build more city districts, it re-enables the jobs you have disabled? And your drones just all decide to be like, there's like millions of logistics drones on random planets and that kind of thing. Or that's what it feels like. There's not millions, obviously, but that's really what it feels like. Yeah, a bit of a pain. And yeah, I wish that it just remembered the percentage of those jobs you had selected and maintained that instead of the actual number. Because as it's like the number from the cap, which is really a silly way to do it. You can remember it from the number from the bottom as well, right? Like if you have 100 jobs available, it stays as 100 jobs available. I think that's how it should work. Or just not, it remembers it like negative 100 from the top. Right, so if the number is, if there's 100 jobs, negative 100 is 0, it's fine. And then when there's 200 jobs, it's 100 jobs left. And then you have to go through and disable all of them. And just by doing that, I gained like more than 1,000 tech, which shows how much microing can make a difference. And if I was doing it well this game, I can imagine we'd probably be like a decade ahead of where we are, especially with how non-linearly scaling Stellaris is these days. So that is just something to keep in mind, If you want to truly min-max your planets, remember to go ahead and continuously disable jobs as they appear unnecessarily, and a lot of random management stuff like that can make a pretty big difference. Though I'm playing for fun, I'm watching some podcasts, we're not doing that here, so please don't follow this build guide as a truth to the Stellaris meta or something. No, this is just something that's fun to play and relatively strong. And I guess you wouldn't be disappointed if you wanted to play something strong and you ended up playing this. So, all right, I've made some changes across the Empire now that I think have been pretty helpful. One of them is adding alpha hubs to our coordination nexus districts. This is definitely help with our tech a bit as we're up to 8K in just a couple of years. Um, and yeah, if we take a look at the assembly as well, not on this planet apparently, but on most planets, we're in the 20s to 30s now. 15 here, not great. 34 here, and then these two new planets are, of course, not great. But yeah, across the board, we're just seeing, upticks. What we've also done is artifact relays. They have to be renewed, of course. But in order to make it sustainable, I've taken Archeo Engineers. This will give us a reliable source of artifacts that we can continuously use to refresh the artifact relays, which we will need to do every 10 years. Otherwise, we'll run into some stability issues. And other than that, it's going well. 22 assembly everywhere is not bad. Yes, this is the F hoops we have to jump through to just be equivalent to a biogenesis empire, which I could say would probably be here with this many planets, right? In fairness, Bio Empire wouldn't be guaranteed the same number of planets. However, I would say a Bio Empire would undoubtedly be able to have 8K tech and probably like 3K alloys by year 68, if I were to guess. I have to try it out. I haven't played a Bio Empire that wasn't nerfed to the ground with so many restrictions in quite a while, so we have to give it a shot at some point to test that out. So yeah. Anyhow, other than that, we're just gonna keep going. We're just gonna, see how far we can get this. As I know that right now things are looking down compared to a Bio Empire, which is a little bit sad. I do have to say, but Bio Empires do not have any source of exponential scaling like these robots do, and Bio Empires do not have access to the same level of pop assembly, right? Bioempires get clone vats, and we get those molecular revitalization institutes, which are basically clone vats, and you can get to 700 pop assembly. But pop growth slows down as you approach the limits to the size of the planet. This does not happen with robots. We should be able to do something much, much cooler if you're patient enough to get into the long term. And patience is not my strong suit, so it could be difficult, but I'm going to try anyway. Guys, I have learned of something that I'm not gonna lie, I had no idea existed. And that is there exists something as an assembly zone. I did not know that. So yeah, I think our prop issues are solved. Here's a size 28 planet. Let's build one of these assembly zones. And I'm really curious to see, without Fallen Empire buildings, what kind of assembly we're gonna get to. This could be pretty nuts. Okay, guys, I don't know if I'm going crazy, but since when have assembly zones existed? Have these always existed and I'm just ignorant and never knew? Or are these new in the game? I think they might have been here for a while because I'm looking on Reddit right now and it says from 4 months ago that assembly zones already existed, I think. So, yeah, that's pretty interesting. Well, today we learned and today we exploited. And I think, I'm not 100% sure, but these appear to bypass the need for a what's it called, an industrial zone as well. But I'm kind of curious. I need to run a test, right? Is I need to take a planet that has only assembly zones, like this planet right here. So we're currently getting 53 assembly, and then I need to add a foundry zone and see if that increases. So let's go ahead and prioritize this foundry zone, and I'll report back when this is done. Yep, the assembly speed did not go up. So with the assembly zone, you do not need a why is the word for industrial just always just skipping my mind? This is annoying. What is this? Rising up. Engage standby mode? No, do not engage standby mode. But I also don't want crime. I guess engage standby zone. Why are they AFK? They just be maintenance drones or something. Let's see, what kind of assembly are we getting here? 160. Okay, well, we are starting to scale, guys. We are definitely starting to scale, and yeah, I think we really need this administrative hub to get the happiness on this planet back up, and yeah, we are starting to move now. Okay, so assembly zones is what we've needed this entire game, not foundry zones, assembly zones. Seriously though, guys, since when have these existed? I'd be so sad about this if I didn't know, and it's existed for the entirety of 4.0, and I just never knew. which is looking like the case. Like, why don't I have an assembly zone as an option here, right? No assembly zone option. Assembly zone option. Are these unique to the Zeroni planets? But some of these planets aren't Zeroni planets. Like, um, yeah, this isn't a Zeroni planet, and it has it, and this isn't, and it still has it. So, like, but why isn't it available on my capital? Is it available on my capital here, but not on the Foundry Nexus district? That is so bizarre, guys. That is so incredibly bizarre. I do not understand how that works. Anyways, I'm not complaining because I've just made this game 20 years shorter for myself, as I no longer need to find the Fallen Empire buildings before we get to test out the infinite scaling. Nice. Well, guys, when you have nearly unlimited pops at a disposal and you need something to do with them, what do? Well, time to bring back an old classic, the Synaptic Lathe. I rarely use these, as I usually like to organically build tech up, but with access to unlimited pops, I feel like this should be pretty useful, right? Like, all we really need to do is ascend this thing to the moon, and then build up some districts, right? I don't remember exactly what you want. The neural gate looks good. Yeah, the neural gate is definitely what you want. So we got to build a couple of these, and yeah, once this thing gets going, all I remember is that the production is insane. You know, let's just move some pops over. I mean, we have so many of these assembly zone planets. Like, by the way, is there a designation for like assembly zone? I guess not. Yeah, I guess not. So yeah, I guess we just go ahead and start resettling pops over there. Like, there's 4,000 maintenance drones. We definitely don't need that. Let's move some over to the Synaptic Lathe, and I'm curious to see what kind of output this is giving now. Barely anything, so this thing definitely needs some upgrades. Let's go ahead and go on fast and see what happens as the upgrades come through, and not fantastic yet. I do have to say, I've seen better. Yeah, let's just get those neural gates built up. Do I need any of these? What do these do? Additional building slots? Ooh, additional building slots gotta be useful too, right? We probably want some of those. Um, does this thing give extra building slots? Max districts. Uh, neural stabilizer. That sounds useful. I want the things that make the pops not burn up so quickly. Let's see how fast this thing burns pops right now. You can put telepaths on these things? That's funny. um, yeah, anyways, we're going to start to use this to produce tech, right? Because all I know is that Synaptic Lathe at some point will outscale everything in the entire game. We're some distance away from that right now, but we're going to start to get this going as well. I have no idea if what I'm doing is worth it, but I'm just going to resettle like a few tens of thousands of, like a couple, like 10,000 pops over, and I'm kind of curious what happens here. Yeah, we have 10,000 pops over here now. And is this going to create a crazy amount of tech? Yeah, it's like doubled our tech output. I think that's worth it. Definitely a little expensive, but oh, I want the Synaptic Preserver. I really want the Synaptic Preserver. I remember that that thing helps a lot with just slowing down the decay. So yeah, we're gonna put some of these on. Yeah, pop purge speed minus 15%. That's what we want to build first. Yeah, for sure. Okay. So is this thing maxed out? I think it's maxed out right now, right? But it's really not that amazing. I don't really know why. Is there more upgrades? There must be more upgrades. There's no way it caps out at like, or does it need our neural chips like biological pops more efficient to put in this thing or something? Because I remember this thing used to produce hundreds of thousands of tech, not tens of thousands, or maybe it always produced tens of thousands. In which case, it's kind of mid, to be honest, right? Because in that case, it's not that much better than just chilling with a few maxed out regular planets, I would say. So, yeah, kind of an interesting conundrum here. However, mostly I really need those Fallen Empire um, buildings right now. Maybe I'm not a high enough like level for Crisis. I think maybe not. Let's go ahead and take a look at that situation log. I have so many of these now. Oh, I'm only 3 out of 5. Oh yeah, that's not enough. I think you need 4. Technology. Swap this. I think, is it considered a dangerous technology? Is that why I can't? Is that why I can't research that? We'll find out. Whatever. And there we go. We reached level 4 crisis, and immediately there's the robot manufacturing plant, and that is what we're looking for. As I think that will step up our pop assembly from pretty good. Like, what are we getting on this planet? 206, right? Which is nice, but it's definitely not mind blowing, and it's definitely not game breaking. And once we get access to the good old Fallen Empire building, we can spam these in every building slot, and I think it'll kind of change the game completely. So let's go ahead and start adding these. Um, and I don't think there's a limit to how many we can have either. Oh, there is a limit in the sense that we need living metal. So, we're not doing anything with our trades right now. Let's go ahead and just buy like a bunch of living metal per month and just buy a bunch in bulk. We have tons of trade. Um, and yeah, let's get these going. I'm building them all on one planet here just so I can more get a gauge on how important each one of these things is to the pop assembly speed. Let's take a look at what one Fallen Empire assembly planet gives us. Let's speed that up a bit. And there we go. 203, 219. It's only like 20. To be honest, I thought we could do a lot better there. But I guess it's only one, right? And there's quite a few more to go. So yeah, I guess that's good. I'm also kind of curious. Okay, let's put one on this planet here and see how much it speeds this up, because this is 20, right? So it's like going to be very measurable what effect this has. So let's go ahead and go on fastest, wait for that to go over, and let's also take a look back at this planet. No, not that, but this planet. 235. Yeah, it seems like each one is worth like 30 assembly or something like that, which is quite a bit. Definitely not mind blowing though. I've seen biological pop assembly get competitive with this, to be honest. Um, I don't know why this doesn't feel like it's that insane. I guess loop tanks was nerfed um, since 4.0, right? I think it's been nerfed in 4.1, and it is not that insane. Like 250 assembly now. Yeah, I mean, it's good. Don't get me wrong. I'm not complaining. I'm very happy about this much assembly, but it's definitely not game breaking anymore. Is I guess how I describe it. Game breaking. Well, like it's not game breaking compared to like 40 assembly, right? Because that's already the limit of planet assembly speed, right? It's just when you have this much, you can do. Did I just cut myself off with that pause? Probably. Guys, with this much pop assembly, I'm not even sure if it's the psionics that's the overpowered part, or just robots with machine worlds. This is ridiculous. Um, yeah, I definitely noticed that base loop tanks is quite a bit weaker than it used to be. A base loop tank build on an Ecumenopolis, like something like this, would have like 200 assembly, and that is definitely not the case anymore, which is good, thankfully, because that was ridiculously overpowered. But um, the fact you're able to build assembly zones and that gets you up to like 100 pop assembly already is essentially infinite pops for an empire, right? And when you combine it with something ridiculous like spamming these fallen empire buildings, like is psionics going infinite or is a robotics going infinite? I don't even know, to be honest. And I'm really curious what's going to happen in the long run here. Like, how much are these planets going to start to produce after some time? Like, is like I have no idea what's going to happen, to be honest. Like, I have no idea. Like, I will say we definitely need more jobs for our archives and that kind of thing in general, right? We definitely could be doing better on that department, like having just more tech jobs available to our people. But man, is this assembly insane. Like, it is so funny. I love it. I love it. Wouldn't change it. Hey guys, does anyone know of a way to move more pops at once? Because my finger is starting to hurt. Yeah, there are 39,000 pops on this planet, and we have to move them all off, so I'm gonna be at this for a while, aren't I? I'm very disappointed that shift and control do not work for this. Yeah, normally when you shift or control on something, it moves a lot more than the minimum amount at once, and not in this case. We are just needing to click a lot, and yeah, that is certainly a bit tiring. But I guess we have the pops. It's just about bothering to go ahead and click all the way through, all the way through. Yeah, as you can see, our energy situation is pretty funny. Oh, we have some non-linear runaway. That's a problem that is very common in today's Stellaris, it turns out. Which one of these is my energy planet? Why is this thing not keeping up? Hey, you have one more energy district. I'm sure that'll fix the problem, right? Yeah, that's definitely not going to fix the problem. But this lathe will burn through its pops pretty quickly. It's making 67,000 tech right now. I'm pretty sure that's past. No, we're not at 1 month repeatables yet, so I guess it could be better. Um, Also, why is this thing at tier 12 ascension? Like, I don't know. Am I complaining? No. No, I'm not. Yeah, also, we're having problems on a lot of these planets stability wise now. Yes, some of them are due to loop tanks, but it's also some of them are just starting to run out of housing, to be honest. Like, um, there's just too many pops, right? Like, there's just too many pops in some of these planets. And I can't manage to click these all off manually, right? I think on these ones they'll auto migrate to planets with more housing. I think because they're in the same sector, but I don't think they'll auto migrate here, right? Do I have a tradition tree left? I think, yeah. I wanted auto migration like needs to happen because nobody can click that many times. They also need to make it so that if you shift click or control click, you move 10 or 100,000 pops at a time instead of one, because otherwise that this amount of pops is completely unmanageable. Though I guess you're really not supposed to be doing this in Stellaris. We are really breaking the game right now in a lot of senses. We're also not going to research Cosmogenesis Tier 5, as that would certainly break the game, because I'm going to let the auto research go, and I don't want to like get like the universe burning and that kind of thing. I don't like some of the Cosmogenesis events. I don't actually want to finish it, right? I just want the buildings so that we can be a fallen empire and we can have fun just completely min-maxing a planet to a ridiculous extent, right? Like literally cannot click pops off this planet fast enough. Sped up. What is that? Yeah, I definitely needed that 10% more pop growth speed. Yes, game. Yes, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Pretty funny. Um, yeah, I'm also kind of curious how this empire runs if I just leave it on go. Like we're getting both the specialist runaway amount of telepaths, which is nice, but we're also just getting a ridiculous amount of pops now. I wonder how many pops we do have, and I wonder what our empire size from pops is. Is our empire size from pops 0? Um, I think so, or we're very close. We're very close. We're not quite at 0. There's definitely a few ways we could get to 0, but I don't think it's that important, to be honest. And as our leader levels up, we should be able to get more, to be honest. And since we have infinite unity, we can go ahead and manually level that leader up. Let's go ahead and see what happens. Let's just pick. Who cares? Doesn't matter. Let's just keep like going through these. Since we have statecraft, right? The leaders will level up. So I think statecraft is a good pick for just all. I think at the end of the day. And wow, we have a lot of levels on this guy to go through. Let's go ahead and keep clicking through. Damn, we're not getting a lot of EXP per level, aren't we? I think I do have. Why is this got so many levels built up? Has all these levels been sitting here and I just haven't used them? Or has it leveled up this many times? I do have machine learning like, right? Yeah. There must be some of these that help leaders. Are there? Oh, maybe not. You know what? We'll click on that too, because that's even more unity. Yeah, sure. Yeah, even more research speed. I'm sure that's what we're lacking. Ridiculous. So ridiculous. Oh, it's because these agendas give leader XP. That's why a random one seems to be leveling up 1,000 times. Oh, I get it. Where's the one that levels up our main leader, right? Because that's what I really need right now. Let's level this up. Boom. Level this up. Boom. Self-maintenance. Boom. Let's take a look at what we're working with here. This is ridiculous. This is so ridiculous. Are we at 0 emperor size per mops yet? I hope so. 33% from the ruler. This is one very nice thing about Gestalt is as your ruler levels up, rapid replicator. I'm sure that's what we need right now. Wow, you just get so many traits. This is amazing. I guess having infinite unity is nice, eh? But we're gonna run out of agendas soon. So, Legion node, boom, boom. It really doesn't matter, eh? Like I don't know why I'm thinking about them as if what I click matters, because yeah, this save is very close to being done in the sense that there's gonna be nothing else that I want to get out of it. Because we got to see the runaway psionics efficiency loop, we got to see a runaway robotics with loop tanks efficiency loop. That's kind of what I wanted to do in the first place, right? So yeah, here we are. Negative 100% empire size from pops. I'm almost sure about that now. Yep. just over, like a minus like 110%. Too bad it doesn't go negative. That would be funny. I think almost all our planets are 100% max now, so there's basically one thing left to do, and that is reform out of rapid replicator. We don't need that anymore, and go ahead and take the ascensionist perk. I forget exactly what it's called. Built to last, construct a bot, elevation hypothesis. There we go. So this is the ascensionist equivalent, and now we can go ahead and ascend all our planets to the maximum as well. I believe. Why do we get 12 levels of ascension? Is this from? I believe it's from. Yeah, here we go. It's from the Covenant power, right? So every time we activate that, every 10 years, we go above the max level, which is ridiculous. And with Ascensionist bonus, we should be able to do two things, which is get our empire size from like planets to below a number where we can get less than 100 empire size with a Gestalt empire with like 10 planets, which is completely ridiculous, by the way. Yeah, we have a few more planets left. 100 empire size left. 106. Oh my gosh, we're gonna do it. 101. Yeah, I think when we ascend Mars here, yeah, 99 empire size, guys. It's clearly because we don't have enough pops, right? Nope. I wonder how many pops do we have. Let's take a look. Species, 178,000. Yeah, no problem. 0 empire size. Nice, nice, nice. How ridiculous is this? And oh my god, we have so many of these buildings left as well. We have so many zones left to build on every like this build isn't even maxed. It's not even maxed. You know, let's just max it out for fun. I'll be right back. Hey guys, I found a solution. An auto clicker. This is what we need to play Stellaris now. Alright, there we go. Now I have a way to move pops to my synaptic lathe. Nice. Resettle synaptic lathe. And a boom. Oh, F6 also does something else. Oh crap. Are we auto-clicking right now? No, we're not auto-clicking. Okay, okay. That's good. That's good. Well, we'll sort this out off camera. Well, that didn't work. We've bankrupted ourselves here. Negative 80,000 energy is certainly interesting. I guess we'll only alternate between positive 1,000 and negative 80,000. Wow, these purge fast too. Jeez. What? Oh, did we run out of energy and then like all the pops just instantly disappeared? Oh, and now it's coming. Oh, and this is funny. This is so funny. Well, anyways, I think I'll be getting my screenshot here as this build is like coming to a logical conclusion here. As you can see, it's completely ridiculous. It's ridiculous before you get the infinite pops, but after you get them, it is just like comedic. Like plus 500 assembly is not balanced. Every single planet having, you know, hundreds of extra telepaths is definitely a nice touch as well for that extra boost to efficiency. Yeah, I would say Psionic robots is definitely a great build, especially for single player. Completely nuts, and definitely, I'd say, at least in the mid and late game, easier to play than other builds, although it takes a little bit longer to get going than Bio-Ascension, I would say. And I'm going to show how broken Bio-Ascension is in the sense that you literally produce so much tech that you don't even need a synaptic lathe to make the numbers look broken, where I would say you kind of do with robots, as even though you max out a planet like this with a machine world and everything, and you make, say, 10,000 tech from one planet, that's all fine and dandy, right? That's great. That's a great amount of tech. The amount that I believe that Bio-Ascension can do would blow this away. So, anyways, hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode. It was definitely pretty fun making it. Please go out there and try Psionic robots for yourselves, as it's really fun. So hopefully you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.